Here's my ID. Okay. And here are my audience members. Okay. Imagine yourself in the year 1600. Your river you normally cross every day is flooded, and you don't have a boat or a bridge to get across. But you do have a pole, and you use that pole to vault yourself across the river and go about your day. And this very action was the birth of pole vaulting. And in this slideshow, I will be showing you all about the history and procedure of pole vaulting. The beginnings of pole vaulting. As stated from worldathletics.org, although the precise date is unknown, it is recognized that the beginning of pole vaulting was in the 16th century in Greece. And then the whole point of pole vaulting was initially used to get across flowing rivers and creeks and other obstacles. And then modern vaulting, as we know it today, began in the 1850s in Germany. And then just like how pole vaulting was used to get across lakes and rivers and creeks as transportation, and how it evolved to pole vaulting, so did the poles. And the first poles that were used for pole vaulting were hickory sticks with metal spikes. And then from the hickory sticks, it went from bamboo poles. Then in 1857, and the bamboo poles had bigger bin that would launch the vaulter in the air higher. But then they realized that the bamboo poles broke easily. And so then they switched to metal poles. And the metal poles were too stiff. And so then it evolved to fiberglass and carbon poles, what we use today. And just like the pole vault poles, so did the pole vault pit. It evolved into foam pits that are molded around our box that we have today. But the first things the people had to do was land on their feet because they didn't know what else to do. But soon they realized the higher you went, the more it hurt when you fell back down. So they used whatever they could find to land on, which evolved including dirt, straw, grass, or sand. And then the picture of the hay from Vetra.ai shows what they might have used to jump on and land. And then all that evolved to the molded foam pits, like I said earlier, to what we use today. And the foam pits ensure our safety way better than landing on our feet or dirt. And continuing on, the first part of the pole vaulting procedure is holding the pole. And just like he's doing, he has his hands about a forearm length apart, and that way you have better grip with the pole and better just a hold of it. You have better strength with it. And then after you have the pole in your hands, that's a forearm length apart, you flip the pole upside down to where the tip's in the air. And it looks harder to carry, but it's really much easier than just dragging it on the ground everywhere. And now the second part of the pole vaulting procedure is getting your step. And then your step's really important because if your step's off, you either miss the box, which is where you plant your pole. And when you plant your pole is how you get up and your friction. And when you have a messed up step, you have a messed up plant. And when all that's bad, you can seriously injure yourself. But if everything's perfect and you have your correct step, and to get your correct step, you need to get a pole length apart from you in the box. And then from there, after you get that, you turn the opposite direction of the pit. And the pit, like I said before, was the soft landing mat that you landed on. It didn't hurt as bad when landing on your feet. Okay, and then after you got on the opposite end of the pit, you turn back around to where you're facing the pit. And then that's your step mark. And your step mark just allows you to go high as you want. And the further back, basically it's the higher you go. And then after you get your perfect step, you run as fast as you can towards the box. And then after that, you plant your pole. And then planting your pole is very important to have a strong upper and lower arm. Because with those, you have better core strength to get upside down. But to get upside down, you have to jump and and swing your leg until you're upside down parallel with the pole. And then you should be able to look at your feet in the air, which is a whole messes you up. You're twisted upside down. And then after you've completed that, you do a 180-degree turn until you are over top of the height bar and you kind of like fold it over it. And then you flip yourself back to where you need to land. And you need to land on your back, but when you land on your back, you have a perfect view of the height bar. And then as you lay on your back, you really hope that the bar doesn't fall, because if the bar falls, you have to do it all over again. But then, after you notice that the height bar hasn't fallen on you, you celebrate and go on to your next height. And your next height is about 6 inches, or it could vary to like 1 inch, or however high you want to get your next PR. And your PR is your personal record. And then it's crazy how a simple temporary transportation fix turned into an Olympic medaling sport like it is today. And now, from jumping over creeks and over rivers and over other obstacles, turned into people going into the air, which is now around 20 feet, and people are getting higher and higher every day. But to scale that 20 feet is like jumping over a whole giraffe with just a pole. And I'm actually a pole vaulter, and I've pole vaulted for about 6 years now, and I am not very good, but definitely not good enough to get the 20 feet in the air. So I'm like vaulting maybe over its back, maybe, but it's super fun and it's a great sport to play. And then the world record chart for pole vaulting has evolved crazy throughout the years, and how it's had a steady incline throughout all these years. And I actually got this chart from business.uoregon.edu, and it just shows how in the future people are getting better and better every day, and how we don't know how high people eventually get, and how much more pole vaulting is going to evolve. And then my closing statement is how pole vaulting has a great, interesting past and history over how people used it as a transportation, now are going for gold in the Olympics. And it's just amazing how it turned into what it is today. Thank you for your attention.
Yay!